Devastation hits America once again. Another mass shooting.
Shoppers running for their lives. An active shooter killing at least 18 people and injuring others.
Video posted on Twitter showing the chaos as customers started being evacuated with their hands up.
In August 2019, a 21-year-old man walked into a shopping mall in Texas with an AK-47 and opened fire.
Police say 1,000 to 3,000 people were likely inside of the Walmart at the time of the shooting.
There's busting guns in Walmart right now. AK, somebody's got shot.
I just want to know where my mom is.
23 people died, making it one of the deadliest mass shootings in U.S. history.
Right now we have a manifesto from this individual that indicates potential hate crime.
Shortly before the killing spree, the shooter published a 4-page declaration on 8chan detailing his motivation.
This attack is a response to the Hispanic invasion of Texas, the author writes.
If we can get rid of enough people, he wrote, then our way of life can become more sustainable.
This attack was motivated by an extremist ideology known as eco-fascism, the meeting point of environmentalism and far-right conspiracism. Eco-fascism blames the environmental crisis on overpopulation and migration, often idealizing a supposedly racially pure past. At its most violent extreme, these ideas drive people to attack and kill, and they carry a growing influence in far-right circles. In March 2020, as the world went into lockdown, videos began emerging on social media of dolphins swimming through the canals in Venice and elephants drunk on corn wine on Chinese tea plantations. These images were shared and liked by millions of people on social media, providing a brief dopamine hit as the pandemic raged. But it turned out the videos were fake, and they were being weaponized by far-right groups to spread their dangerous ideology.
The texts that started going around were, oh look, when humans take a step back, we see that kind of nature and non-humans quickly flourish. And isn't that wonderful? The eco-fascist message that was being weaponized was humans are the virus on the planet and we need to stop being so overpopulated. In order to do that, it should be non-white people who remove themselves from the European continent and perhaps remove themselves entirely from this planet.
The worst enemy of life is too much life, the excess of human life.
Eco-fascism dates back to the early 20th century, and the man behind the creation of the Bronx Zoo in New York and Glacier National Park in Montana. Madison Grant was a conservationist credited with saving many species of animals. However, he was also a raging eugenicist who wrote a book about racial purity called The Passing of the Great Race, a doctrine which Hitler later described as his Bible. Today, eco-fascist rhetoric has been adopted by far-right groups around the world, who are now co-opting concerns around overpopulation, globalization, and the climate crisis to spread their own xenophobic messages.
Che ci dobbiamo far sostituire dalla massa di immigrati che sta arrivando dall'Africa.
In Italy, a green branch of the neo-fascist party Casa Pound has taken a break from their usual anti-migrant propaganda to launch a tree planting initiative. Over in Sweden, the Green Brigade, an eco-terrorist branch of the base, burnt down a mink skinning factory in 2019. And in the UK, the far-right group Patriotic Alternative has used litter-picking drives to greenwash white nationalism, as well as flying banners on British mountaintops and at the COP26 climate conference in Glasgow. To date, there hasn't been a central figurehead or organisation for eco-fascists to rally around, but that may be changing. Over the past 5 years, the so-called Pine Tree Gang has emerged on social media.
They use this pine tree emoji, which to 99% of the population is just a pine tree emoji. It says, oh, I'm thinking about the trees and the environment. But to the 1% who have attributed that as meaning I am part of this deeper far-right ideology, the Pine Tree Gang are basically neo-Nazis, people who feel maligned and forgotten about. And maybe they use the environment to justify their feelings.
The group are believed to have formed around the time of this Netflix series back in 2017 about a man who inspired the longest FBI manhunt in history.
The terrorist called Unabomber is planning to blow up an airliner sometime during the next 6 days.
Although he didn't call himself an eco-fascist, Ted Kaczynski, known as the Unabomber, orchestrated a 17-year bombing campaign from his cabin in the woods of Montana to fight industrialization and the destruction of nature.
The bomb on the Yale campus today blew up in the computer sciences building.
A small bomb exploded in a mail pouch in the cargo hold.
Federal agents have taken into custody a man they suspect as the Unabomber.
He was a hermit-type fellow.
I'd like to read stuff that you and I never even heard of.
I guess he's idolized because he's portrayed as this misunderstood white man who's too smart for his own good and couldn't fit in with society because he knew better than other people. And I think that's how a lot of eco-fascists would see themselves, because they are marrying far-right ideology with far-left. So there's already not really a place for them in society. And you therefore see these violent responses like with the mass shooting.
Many right-wing news outlets and politicians have capitalized on the climate debate to peddle their anti-immigrant agenda, and the message is breaking through into the mainstream.
Thanks to illegal immigration, huge swaths of the region are covered with garbage and waste that degrade the soil and kill wildlife. If you claim to care about the environment, you think that the little piece of America you're responsible for, that you represent in the Congress, would be clean, but hers isn't. Why?
Well, part of the reason is because her district is actually one of the least American districts.
Tucker Carlson is using these kinds of tropes that evoke an eco-fascist ethos. For example, saying that immigrants coming over are outbreeding white people.
The Democratic Party is trying to replace the current electorate with new people, more obedient voters from the third world.
This goes all the way back to these ideas of the passing of the white race. You have Tucker, you have people in political office pass these kinds of conservationist bills that restrict immigration on the basis of environmental damage.
Despite President Biden's purported commitment to protecting our environment, his immigration policies will lead to the degradation of our borderlands, including federally protected areas.
In this lawsuit, we allege the Biden administration is violating the National Environmental Protection Act, NEPA. So we are saying that by stopping the wall construction, they're violating NEPA because it's allowing more and more people come into this country, migrants, and that's having a devastating impact on our environment.
Trying to utilize an environmental issue in order to spread what is really a xenophobic agenda.
Meanwhile, in France, far-right presidential contender Marine Le Pen has reversed her party's traditional climate science skepticism and now poses as an environmental champion, proposing to make Europe the world's leading ecological civilization by strengthening borders and restricting the flow of migrants.
À moi de développer ma vision de l'écologie et de la nécessaire protection de notre maison commune. Une vision reposant sur un modèle localiste, protégé par des frontières, et répartissant harmonieusement les activités sur le territoire.
The right wing is really drawing heavily on ecological anti-immigration claims, and that's just going to get more and more significant as we get more climate refugees, as conditions worsen and people look for somebody to blame.
And this far-right co-opting of environmental concerns has a seriously dark history, going all the way back to the Nazis.
Blood and soil, which is a term that has sort of resurfaced since the Charlottesville riots in the United States. And what this term blood and soil is referring to is this ecological unity between the German people, the German culture, and the German land. And this notion that corruption of just one of those things leads to the deterioration of all of those things.
California is burning. Today there are 16 active fires.
It is the worst flooding Venice has seen in more than 50 years.
What can be one of the coldest places on Earth is on fire.
Ecofascism is an insidious ideology that has the potential to tap into some of the most festering anxieties of a younger population. If that inability to address the climate crisis persists among the mainstream political actors, I think we're going to see an increased shift towards the polar extremes of the environmental movement.